Two Rivers Talks is brought to you by Two Rivers Biz Starts. Also by Two Rivers Main Street. And by Raleigh Point Economic Advising. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
And I would be like, so hyper. I was
From
like,
an Ivy program?
yeah, I would act like Doctor Who or something. Be like, yes, okay, let's go, let's do it. Right?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, a happy little byproduct.
I was. Yeah, it was. It was awesome. You get high and high perfect.
Wow.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Two Rivers Talks. My name is Todd Nilson. This is my partner in crime,
Darla.
LeClair, extraordinaire. I don't know why I never did that.
Did you just take an ibuprofen?
I didn't. You'd think that I did. Anyways, we're really glad you're here with us today. We are Two Rivers Talks, and so we like to talk about all things Two Rivers, the arts, businesses, what's going on in town. We just really like to talk about what makes this a wonderful place to live.
Right. And it's a multitude of reasons.
It is.
And we'll be hearing a lot more of that myriad of reasons later on when we're interviewing Civic Brand.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a teaser for what's going to be coming up, but we'll talk about them a little bit here in just a second.
Yeah. And another teaser here is one of our other guests today is a friend of the show, Michael Ditmer.
Right.
Who is the half owner, I guess, and operator of Still Bend,
Right.
The Frank Lloyd Wright Schwartz House. He was kind enough to have us go on site to the Schwartz House here in Two Rivers. It's an architectural treasure of the city, and talk to us a little bit about its history, about why it's a neat place, kind of what's happening with the Frank Lloyd Wright Society and sort of worldwide recognition
Right.
of the contribution to architectural arts. So we're very excited to be able to bring you that segment of the show as well.
Oh, we have, and then we also have footage of Beer Club from Bands on the Beach back in June, and we're just now, we have the space to fit it in. But they did a really nice job. I don't get to go down to the beach as often as I would like because of being here at the gallery, and then I'm tired, so then I just go home and I eat and then sleep. But
I'm done with that.
yeah, I know. That's what I do. But it is nice that we have the bands on the beach, and we've got such a super lineup too for summer, along with over at the band shelter. So there's always some sort of form of entertainment going on, but at least we're utilizing the Rotary Pavilion a lot more.
But our big guest today
is we're interviewing Ryan Short of Civic Brand and two of his staff. And Civic Brand is an agency that focuses exclusively on community branding and public engagement that will help us in marketing our community. Both Todd and I are on the marketing and branding committee for Two Rivers. And that started in October, I believe, of last year, the fall. And
it's supposed to be a short-term committee lasting only a few months.
Right.
And then we realized this was a much bigger deal than
it's huge.
What we had initially thought.
Right. And now we're in a partnership with a company that has a lot of experience doing this. They are fantastic, and I love their approach. So you'll be able to hear more from them. But Civic Brand, it was 5 people, 2 of whom are videographers, and then you have Ryan Short, who heads up the project, and then
Colin and Brisa.
Yeah,
I think I said her name correctly.
Right.
Are also guests on the interview.
Right,
so,
and they're like creative directors and
Brisa's
strategists.
a strategist, and Colin is a creative director.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
But just really interesting people and with a lot of fabulous ideas.
And perspective too.
Oh yeah. And anyway, they arrived in our community on Wednesday the 17th, and today is the 19th, so 2 days ago, and they're leaving tomorrow. And this is the first of multiple trips to our beautiful community. The City of Two Rivers is excited to kick off this branding initiative that will uncover and define the Two Rivers story and develop a brand strategy aimed to inspire residents as well as attract visitors, talent, and investment. And I know that we mentioned it later on, but just a heads up, and this is going to be down in the show notes as well. Visit branding2rivers.com and you can learn more about their trip and what it is that the city is doing right now to help move our community forward. And you can sign up to receive updates on their trips and the progress of the project in total.
And that's the really neat thing about them, because one of the reasons that we gravitated towards them as the group to help us with this effort is that they are working collaboratively with the community. It's not just a select group of people within Two Rivers.
That's right.
They want participation from everybody. And yes, that means you,
Yes.
sitting in your chair there, eating your bonbons, whoever you are. We love you. But you should participate. And this is a way for you to get engaged. Because if you sign up for emails, they're going to send you updates about what's happening. They're going to send surveys. They want to hear from you. You can email them directly. And it's going to be really valuable because we need to make sure, like, branding is a highfalutin marketing word, but it really comes down to the stories we tell about the place in which we live. And those stories have to ring true with those of us that live here and work here every day.
And this is a great opportunity for you to be involved with your community. And going with this particular company gave us that opportunity to involve you guys. So take advantage of it, because this kind of opportunity doesn't come along every day. Typically you'll hear about something secondhand or after the fact. You guys can be part of it. So please take advantage of that.
Well said.
Thank you. You too. And I just want to mention too, please visit our new blog. It's at tworiverstalks.com. And where we will
websites popping up all over the place.
I know.
Yeah.
And of course, we're going to be posting my scintillating behind the scenes tidbits, one or two teasers, and personal musings, which are hysterical, about our beautiful city. And I just wanted to talk about Two Rivers Talks analytics. And I know that we've talked about it in the past, how many hits, the fact that a good percentage of our audience is not within the United States. So I drilled down a little bit.
Yeah, what did you find?
And in no particular order.
Are the Russians watching us? Or?
No Russians.
Okay.
I think that they would just think we're silly.
Well,
anyway,
we are.
yeah.
It's true. Yes.
But we have a lot of government secrets. We just do it in code.
Right. It's all...
Yeah, right. It's their loss. But in no particular order, because right now, as of this morning, 59% of our viewership is from the United States. 41% is other countries. We're talking France, the UK, Brazil, Iraq, Argentina, Germany, and Saudi Arabia.
Huh.
Isn't that crazy?
That's fascinating.
I know.
So the France thing is kind of interesting because, Jerry Lewis was big in France. So, like, maybe we got this whole comedy connection thing going on,
Do not put me in this. I love Jerry Lewis to a certain point, but he was not okay.
Comedy genius, my friend. Comedy genius.
Okay. Todd. Anyway, so that's kind of the analytics, because I did drill down and I was able to find that. And
that's interesting.
It's perplexing. It's interesting, but it's like, why? You
never know.
But I've also noticed that for subtitling, it's ticking upwards, the percentage of people who require to have the English subtitles on.
Okay.
So our English is, we speak in colloquialisms, and
maybe we should just do our own little translation subtitle track.
Darla's a hot mess. Todd's just hot.
I would ask Jack, our engineer, to do that, but I can only imagine what he would put in his translations for what we're actually saying. So
it would be very interesting. We'll talk about that later, honey, over dinner. So, if you would take it away with word of the day.
Oh yes, I would be delighted to give you the word of the day, Darla. The word of the day is undulate.
I love that word.
Undulate. To move in a sinuous or wave-like motion. Display a smooth rising and falling or side to side of alternation of movement. To wobble, oscillate, ripple, roll, swell, or swing. The flag undulates in the breeze. The flag undulates in the breeze.
You're scaring me.
That was the code. We had to transmit to
our Russian. Our Russians.
Right.
Oh gosh.
Now you had ululate the last time around.
Yeah. Now we're undulating.
Now we're undulating. Previously ululated.
Yes.
What's the next U word you're gonna? Are we just gonna work the U's through the rest of the year?
I don't know. I just kind of. No. Actually, the next one I think is going to be syncopation.
With that.
I love that.
You gotta
word.
pick another one now, though.
Okay.
Because you already.
People are going to.
Spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers, but they.
Okay.
Well, we'll see. I have a whole list of words of the day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or if you have a suggestion for word of the day, please add it to the comments below, and we'll.
And make sure it's family appropriate, please.
Right. Please.
And
you have a public service announcement, right?
Yeah. This is the first one we've done, but I came across the article and I thought it was important. The Red Cross issues an urgent call for blood and platelet donors. Following a difficult 4th of July week for blood and platelet donations and ongoing challenges finding new blood donors, the American Red Cross now faces a blood shortage and has issued an emergency call for eligible individuals of all blood types to give now and prevent delays in medical care. Donors of all blood types, especially the type O, are urged to make an appointment. You can go online or call 1-800-733-2767 to donate, and that will be down in our show notes.
In the news, the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band is going to perform at Green Bay's Mayer Theater. So get ready to go fishing in the dark, because the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band is coming to Green Bay.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
What do you mean?
Go fishing in the dark?
It's a song.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
I'll play it for you later.
Okay, you have to play it for me later. I'm ignorant of the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, but I am.
See, I thought this was hard-hitting.
But I'm curious to know, so, okay. And the group will tell you all about Mr. Bojangles. Now, was that the actual song, Mr. Bojangles?
Yes.
Okay. On October 17th, beginning at 7:30 p.m. Tickets can be purchased at the Mayer Theater website or at the TicketStar box office at the Resch Center.
That's Meyer Theater.
Meyer Theater. Thank you, Jack.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. We don't have like expensive earphones here where you can say that in my ear. Anyways, tickets cost between $50 and $55. And
I thought it was important news. I was excited when I saw it.
I'm sure,
We had McCartney, and now we got the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band.
Dirt Band. Okay.
Okay. Well, at least.
I am ignorant of your ways.
Grasshopper. Now, here, this is fun. We were going to talk to you about Wisconsin State Fair, who released their list of new fair food. And first of all, for a full list, you can visit the fair's website, which we have down in the show notes. However, we did go through and pick out our top favorites for weirdness.
Wow.
So if you would like to, we
just
can
gonna go through the
alternate.
list?
Yeah, we
Is
can
that-
alternate.
So for drinks, we have freezer brews, new freezer brew slush beverages in the following flavors: strawberry, lemon, Hefeweiss. Is that like that's
Hefeweiss.
Hefeweiss.
Yeah.
PXP with pineapple. That sounds like angel dust or something. Mexican ale with lime and sea salt. Mango wheat. And Mexican ale with lime and salt at Sprecher Freezer.
Right.
Okay.
And now this, a unicorn beer float, magical and one of a kind, lakefront funnel cake beer topped with 2 scoops of cotton candy ice cream with sprinkles on top. Dreams do come true at the Wisconsin State Fair.
Oh my god.
Doesn't that just turn your stomach?
It sounds very pink.
It sounds like a bad nightmare.
Okay.
And for main courses?
On to the main course. Backyard BBQ burrito. It's a backyard barbecue, all in one burrito. We start with our pulled pork barbecue, then we add in queso mac and cheese, baked beans, coleslaw, and top it off with potato chips. Now, there's a school of thought that the more disgusting something sounds, the better it's going to taste. That's going to be fantastic.
I think it's going to be good. And the thing is that I have the pictures that go along with all of these.
Yeah.
It's a hot mess.
It is.
It really is kind of like,
yeah.
it's like somebody went ahead and chewed it up for you already.
Oh.
But it's like, how lazy are you? Put it on a plate, put a little, 7 degrees of separation between all of the different courses, and let's not be caveman
Can I
about it.
drink it with a straw?
It's not quite that bad.
Okay.
Your straw will get clogged.
Okay.
That's
all right.
just gross. Anyway, and then they also have deep fried booyah.
Booyah.
Booyah. Crispy, flaky, deep fried empanada dough filled with our version of the long simmered green bay stew, booyah.
Booyah, yeah.
We take beef, chicken, pork, and simmer it in WSB amber beer and homemade stock with a variety of Wisconsin-grown vegetables. We thicken the hearty broth and serve the reserved on the side for dipping. These are the normal things. We're working our way into...
Well, we're getting there.
Yeah.
We follow the deep fried booyah with deep fried Italian stallion. Oh, halo. Slow roasted Italian beef marinated in Oktoberfest beer, garlic, onions, and Italian seasonings. Sliced thin and layered with Wisconsin mozzarella and provolone cheeses and spicy house-made giardiniera, all wrapped in a wonton and deep fried to golden perfection. He had me until he's wrapping it in a wonton.
I know.
Like,
it doesn't make sense.
Something like went from Italian to Chinese.
It's fusion.
Yeah.
It's interesting. And the only reason I put this one on the list is because I like the name.
Yeah.
The food, big deal. But a deep fried Italian stallion. I don't know. That just kind of just did something for me.
Yeah, I understand.
Also at the fair, you can get yourself some snake soup. Don't worry, this soup won't bite back. Full of flavorful veggies and rattlesnake meat, rattle not included.
Huh. That's, wow.
Kind of interesting. That's
interesting.
quite the selection.
I would probably try it.
I've had rattlesnake and it's good.
Yeah?
There's a little bit of an aversion
Yeah.
therapy thing going on
I
there,
guess so.
but
Maybe, yeah.
you know.
Like I've had alligator.
Yeah.
So,
Why not? Try it.
Why not?
Try
Sure.
everything.
Be adventurous. Speaking of adventurous, you should try the bug tacos. Bug tacos.
Right.
You may call them creepy crawlies, but we call them tacos. Bug tacos, made with real crickets and worms. Let's get the fiesta started.
I don't know. Now that I would draw the line at. I've tried like chocolate covered
Crickets.
like ants and crickets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And mealyworms. But they were so chocolate covered that what was inside you didn't even know
hidden.
existed.
Right.
And that was just to say that yes, I had tried these things.
Tacos.
This does not turn me on
Somebody was
whatsoever.
getting creative there. Yeah.
Grossly creative. Well, and here's the next thing. A grasshopper slushy on a stick. Cool off at the fair this year with a unique treat from All Things Jerky.
That's like the name of the place that makes it?
Right.
All Things
Jerky.
It's capitalized. Okay.
Grasshopper slushy on a stick. A gourmet frozen fruit pop made with pineapple, kiwi, and orange juice, filled with real grasshoppers.
Oh, okay.
That's in the picture. It's horrible. It's
horrible
just
to behold.
Oh my God.
Like the 12-year-old in me would, be like, oh yeah, I gotta try it.
Yeah.
Let's move on to dessert, shall we? For your pièce de résistance, you could have the deep fried milk with cookie dip. A reverse take on milk and cookies where you dip the milk in the cookie. Sweet and creamy cubes of milk pudding are breaded and fried to crispy perfection, then sprinkled with powdered sugar. Served with a luscious Oreo cookie dip on the side.
That just sounds kind of good.
It's very creative,
But deep fried milk.
Yeah.
That just sounds strange.
How does that work?
I don't know, but they can fry anything.
Yeah, I guess.
That's the one thing about the fair is
I
that
have proof.
your arteries will hate you,
Yeah.
but your taste buds will love you. And then this one kind of sent me over into the abyss. The ultimate deep fried cookie dough sundae, an indulgent sundae of vanilla ice cream and our homemade chocolate chip cookie dough, layered with swirls of hot fudge and hot caramel fudge, topped off with 2 pieces of our homemade and fresh deep fried chocolate chip cookie dough.
Wow.
It was like a sugar explosion.
That just sounds like it would put you into a
coma.
Coma really fast. Like, yeah.
What a way to go.
Yeah, because you die happy.
So got to go to the fair and go down to our show notes, click on the link, and there's a lot more, but these were like the most interesting.
Yeah.
So
really, thanks for digging those out.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was having a great time.
I can tell you were. Moving on to the next item is the Rar West Art Museum is looking for volunteers for Sputnik Fest. Are you ready for this out of the world experience? Sputnik Fest will take place on Saturday, September the 7th, and the committee is currently looking for volunteers for this fantastic event. They tell us that you will not have to be abducted and probed by aliens.
No probing.
No probing involved. Most of the shifts are only 2 hours, do not involve leaving the planet, and all volunteers will receive a free t-shirt for the event.
Right.
Also a great opportunity for high school students needing to earn their community service hours.
Right.
So all you need to do is contact the Rar West Art Museum for more information.
Yeah, and I think that would be a fun festival.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy. I love Sputnik Fest.
It's a cool event, yeah.
And
another unique thing that our county has to offer.
Yeah, it's just a strange little story of a strange little happening that is just cool.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
And then there was an article I read about how approximately 313 people leave Illinois every day for other states. 40 of them, approximately, per day are coming to Wisconsin.
Wow.
The state's out migration crisis is due to primarily working age residents between the ages of 25 and 54 looking for work elsewhere. From July 2017 to July 2018, Illinois' population shrank by more than 45,000 people, behind only New York for the worst raw population decline in the nation. It was the 5th straight year of population decline.
Wow.
A new policy brief called Leaving Illinois for Wisconsin by the free market think tank, the Badger Institute, notes that Illinois' loss is Wisconsin's gain. And follow the link in the show notes to find out why. It's very interesting.
And I think this kind of news is interesting because it represents an opportunity for Manitowoc County. When you hear area employers, and I'm talking to you guys, say again and again that they don't have enough talent in this area and that we've got sort of an aging population and that there are issues, that they should be recruiting actively out of Illinois for people to come and live in the county here.
Right.
I think that would help reverse this whole trend that we've had with an aging population, bring some new blood into the area. And we've got great technical colleges and colleges in the area that can provide retraining programs and opportunities for people to earn a great living, living in the most beautiful county in the state. So
absolutely. Yeah. And it's not just Illinois, Northern California, they're bleeding people, and it's like, let's recruit, let's get some of these people here to fill these positions and reverse this trend of, restaurants closing because they can't hire wait staff.
Right.
And
by the way, it occurs to me, thinking a little bit about our analytics, for those of you in France, bonjour, you may wish to come here and work. We'll try to work out a work visa thing for you. So, anyways.
You'd love it here. And let's get into the city calendar now.
Excellent, yes. So the Two Rivers City Council is going to be meeting on Monday, July the 29th at 6 p.m. As usual, in the City Council chambers on the 3rd floor of City Hall. If you've never been there, there's 3 flights of stairs up, there's an elevator, you can get up there very easily, participate in your local government.
Yes.
The agenda will be posted online, or if you're a loser and you're living in your bathrobe and bunny slippers, you can always tune in on Facebook and check out live stream. What?
We're not pulling any punches today.
I am not. My gloves are off. So this is tough love. So
stop working on that divot in your couch. Come on, get with it. Community Care Day, which I've always enjoyed, especially when I worked for the city.
Right.
It's on Friday, August the 2nd. It's all day in Central Park.
And that coincides with like the Maxwell Street days
Right.
as well. So there's like all the area businesses around here, Schrader's and some of the other local
It's a
stores.
good time, yeah.
Some
I
of the
mean,
things outside.
yeah.
Yeah, I went last year and it was a blast. Like the Leicester Public Library had like used books that they were giving away.
That's right.
I got some fantastic books out of that. I mean, just really a neat event.
It is. I like Community Care Day a lot.
Yeah. A quick plug for Two Rivers Biz Starts. We may already be past the date by the time this gets out. But I'll just kind of mention the 24th of this month at 6 o'clock at the Leicester Library. We're going to have Mr. Patrick Snyder, who's the executive director of Biz Starts at the state level. He's going to be visiting and talk about finding a mentor and resources that are available from Biz Starts, including to Manitowoc County entrepreneurs and small business owners, where they can get help or advice about running their business. We are also going to have an August meeting. That's going to be the 28th at noon. I'm going to change it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Instead of an evening event, we're going to try a lunchtime event. Keep it casual, networking. If you're a business owner or entrepreneur, we're just going to meet at an area restaurant. Haven't figured out which one that's going to be yet. Maybe the Family Diner or maybe Casa Mexico. Someplace where we can sit and have a conversation. But if you have an idea about someplace where you'd like to meet up, please drop in a comment. You can sign up for it on the Two Rivers Biz Starts webpage on Facebook, and it's just great to see people there.
Oh, absolutely. And I will be showing up, and I'll have my rig with me, and I'm just going to start taping everything.
Yeah.
Because I'd like to help you build a library of these different talks.
Well, I think it's useful for the county to have the resources available. I mean, the last meeting that we had was Dennis Swetlick, and I'm so embarrassed that I'm not collecting his name from the last meeting, but from both of whom were from CLA, the accounting firm, and they had great advice for financing your small business. Really, very down to earth kind of stuff.
It was, and it wasn't dry, and but that we have recorded. I just realized that we need to edit it together. I totally forgot about it. But we'll get that prepared for you.
We'll get it there, and we'll post it up on the Tours Talk site as well.
Absolutely, we can link to that.
Yeah.
And then at the Leicester Public Library for the adults, recurring events are Tech Tuesdays, Genealogy Club, Cool City Writers, Chess Club, and Poetry Open Mic.
Teen programs include the Book Nerds for middle schoolers, Book Nerds for high schoolers, and Video Game Creators.
That sounds like fun.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah.
For the youth, recurring events are Storytime, Jumpstart, and Baby Garden.
And then at the Two Rivers Senior Center, we have a couple of recurring events, including cribbage, dartball, dominoes, and the Monday movie matinee.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And Two Rivers Parks and Rec. On Thursday, August the 1st at 6 p.m. in Central Park, Jukebox Elvis, starring Dave Ellert.
David, is he like impersonating?
That's what it looked like.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you want to take the next one? We'll rotate.
The Central Park concert series with the Two Rivers Municipal Band is going to be on Sunday, August the 4th at 1:30 p.m. In the afternoon there. Central Park Band Shelter.
Right. And then on Thursday, August the 8th at 6 p.m. in Central Park, the Dave Steffen Band. And that's my interpretation of that. I'm not sure.
Of the news?
Yeah.
I thought you were doing, because
it's supposed to be beep, beep, beep,
we're
beep, beep.
announcing this just in. The movie on Friday, August the 9th at 8:30 p.m. will be Jaws.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun 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 dun.
Okay,
dun.
you're
I
much
thought
better
you
at
were
it
doing
than
that.
I am.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't sure what the hell I was doing.
Okay.
And that's going to be at the Neshota Beach Rotary Pavilion.
I love how much stuff is happening at the
I
Rotary
know.
Pavilion this year. It's really cool.
And this, I think, is just inspired. And you know, it makes me wonder, it's like, Lake Michigan is a freshwater lake.
True.
We don't have predators out there like you would in the Pacific or the
Yeah.
Atlantic Oceans. But I just wonder how many people won't want to go swimming after
Yeah.
seeing Jaws, maybe for the first time.
You know, I've heard that like sharks have ended up in Lake Michigan at one point or another.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. And
Ew.
I've heard stories about a particularly long and dangerous shark, about 30, 40 feet long, that's attacked a few people along Point Beach.
You're making this up.
I'm totally making this
Well,
up.
stop it. I'm very gullible and I'm susceptible to. I was believing you.
I know, it was
Yeah,
great.
you and I are talking
I
now.
was having a blast.
Oh. So anyway, man, it has been a long week. We are a little bit silly today, but we have a lot more to show you. Mr. Roger Rusov is going to be up next, followed by Civic Brand, followed by Michael Ditmer out at Still Bend, and the beer club. So
yes.
stay tuned. We have a lot in store for you.
Really fun show. We'll be right back.
Hi, we're back. We're here with Mr. Roger Russo, and for our Main Street Minute. And you're always, I look forward to you coming to our recordings because you're very entertaining, and I have a blast. So
And I'm always late.
that's okay. Gave us a couple minutes of just chill out time.
Okay,
So,
okay, good.
So, what did you want to talk about today?
Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about a couple of upcoming events. The Brew Dash coming up on the 27th, which will be right around the time this episode comes out. You can still apply online. You can even show up the morning of the 27th and register there. 5K run walk through gorgeous Neshota Park and along the lake. We're going to have beer there from Copper State Brewing Company, Thumb Knuckle Brewing, Noble Roots Brewing, and the Manti Malters Home Brewing Club.
Right.
Brian Smokehouse will be there serving food. Registration starts at 8 o'clock in the morning. Race starts at 9. Beer drinking will last till somewhere between 12 and 12:30. It's a lot of fun. It's a really laid-back event. We've had a lot of people that have done every one of the 5 that we've had so far and really enjoy it. So that's one thing I wanted to mention. And now I'd like to talk about something new.
Okay.
In March, I went to the National Main Street Conference in Seattle, Washington, and those are fascinating events. And I'm sure for all of you who have been to something like this before, there's all kinds of breakout sessions on different topics, and you spend time before you go to the conference trying to decide, okay, what should I do, what shouldn't I do, and I'm sorry, but invariably, 2/3 of what you pick to do ends up underwhelming you once you decide to get it done. But my goal when I go to something like that, if I come back with 1 or 2 good ideas, I'm happy. And a lot of times those ideas may come at a dinner with some of your peers or sitting at the bar at the hotel or something like that. But in March, I went to a session that was titled, How $5 Can Change a Community. And I thought, well, this is really interesting. And the description of the event didn't really say a whole lot about what this was about.
How $5 can change a community.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I figured, okay, there was nothing that struck me as being better going on at the same time, so I went. And it was about a program from Wheeling, West Virginia, that they've been doing for 5 years now, called Show of Hands. For lack of a better term, I'll call it an in-person local crowdfunding opportunity. The process is people go to a website and they fill out an application form. And they're starting with an idea. And it might be an idea for a business. It might be an idea for a business extension or expansion. It might be a nonprofit that has a program that they want to start or build. It might even be 3 neighbors who want to add playground equipment to the park next to their house. Okay? Fill out the application online. It probably takes about 5 minutes to do. And a committee of people then, after the application deadline, will review those, and they pick 4 finalists. Those 4 finalists are each given at a live event, and we will be holding our first live event sometime in mid-October. Are each given 4 minutes to pitch their idea to an audience. There are 4 minutes of questions, and you move on to the next one. Okay? At the end of the 4 pitches, the people that are in the audience who have each paid $5 to attend, which is where the $5 comes from, their $5 gets them a seat in the room and a ballot. Those people will vote for their favorite idea. The idea out of the 4 that gets the most votes gets the money that's collected that night, as well as any money that's contributed by sponsors.
That's really cool.
Hey, some great stories that came out of the West Virginia program that did it. And I spent probably 20 minutes talking to the woman that organizes it after the session was over. But my favorite was a story of an 8th grade boy who they had gotten a dog, and their dog was having trouble digesting the dog treats they would buy at their local pet store. So he started looking around online and found some interesting recipes for dog treats. And started making them at home for their dog. And he found one recipe that their dog could eat very easily. And it was a certain combination of ingredients and stuff, it was just like food for people. Well, he did this for about a year, making them for his dog, and then decided, I wonder if there's other dogs with the same problem. So he decided he wanted to start selling these at the local farmer's market. So he went to show of hands with the idea of starting a dog treat company, per se.
Yeah.
But he needed money to get a second oven, so he had enough oven space to cook these. He needed packaging materials, he needed a tent and such for the farmer's market. And, we had an 8th grade kid that got up in front of this group of 150 people or so, and, he was a cute little kid, and did a great pitch, and he won.
Wow.
And 3 years later, he's in his junior year in high school. He just finished his junior year in high school. And he's now selling his dog treats at 6 different stores around the Wheeling, West Virginia area.
Wow.
Yeah, it's become something that could very easily be his career.
Yeah.
When he's done with high school.
Wow.
And stories like that are great, and they're out there in this community. It's just a matter of finding people, and that's one of the goals of doing this.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is open to all ages then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Because I was just thinking when we had this last Light Up the Lakeshore with the high school kids,
Mm-hmm.
and some of how innovative they were and some of their ideas. So if this is going to be open to students, adults, and like you said, it could be for a nonprofit, it can be for a startup, it can be for various different
Could be
things.
for like a community improvement project of some sort
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, I love the crowdsourcing element of this because it's just everybody goes to hear some pitches and like $5. It's like, okay, an expensive cup of coffee, but forego the latte at Starbucks.
Yeah.
Manitowoc doesn't need it. Starbucks. And just go in and put some money back into the community. I love that. Of course, I love the entrepreneurship side of it,
Mm-hmm.
which is really neat too.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we get some good stories out of that, and some good successes for the community.
I think so too, and one of the side benefits that Wheeling has found about this, and they've been doing this for 5 years now, so it's built, and they do them 4 times a year. Our plan is to do them twice a year at this point.
Okay.
Is that when they get done with one of these and the money is awarded, they see people in the audience talking to the people who did the pitches. And what's happening is somebody who went up and did their pitch and is looking for $5,000, let's say, to further an idea, all of a sudden is talking to somebody who came to the event and has the $5,000 that can help them further the idea. So it's not just the winner necessarily that gains a benefit from this, it's the other people that pitch this, because you've got a captive audience of people that are listening to your thoughts, and if there's somebody sitting in the audience that is like-minded to you about the idea that you have, it's a way to spur more interest in that idea.
So it's almost like, what do they call it, an angel investor?
Yeah.
Your angel is sitting out in the audience.
Yep.
And it might be a good fit and a good relationship.
Yes.
Surprising things happen at these types of events. Really super exciting, surprising things.
And what's also neat to see, I'm sure West Virginia has some stories about this too, but once a few people get up the nerve to get up on stage and give that pitch, others in the audience will say, oh, well, I could do that.
Yeah.
Why don't I talk about my idea, right? So that kind of feeds itself the next time around.
And you're absolutely right. And when they started it 5 years ago, the first couple that they did, their biggest challenge was getting people to apply.
Yeah.
Right.
The first one they did, they had to seek people out to get 4 finalists. Now, and of course, Wheeling, West Virginia is a lot bigger than Two Rivers, admittedly, but now they're to the point where, and again, 4 times a year, they'll have 30 to 35 applicants.
Really?
Yes.
That's cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's all different types of things. They put a sound system in at a park because they thought people would enjoy that. One was an older gentleman that had a junkyard and he wanted to do more recycling of the stuff that people brought to his junkyard, and he needed equipment to do that, and they helped him fund that project. New business startups, like the 8th grader with the dog treat, just a whole host of different types of things. Somebody wanting to, what was this again? A bakery that wanted to add a new product and needed different equipment to do it.
Okay.
And you get up in front of the audience and you make a compelling pitch. Like you mentioned, Light Up the Lakeshore, same type of thing in that way. Just a little bit different structure because there's no panel of judges in this case. It's the people that come.
Okay.
And I think we need that kind of economic ecosystem out there because you think like Light Up the Lakeshore is great. There was a lot of the money and donations from that came from area businesses and banks. That's great, and maybe and that's a higher level of investment that you're getting. If you win that contest, something like this, it's a little more entry level. But what's really appealing to me about it is it's people in the community putting up their money.
Right.
So it's community driven. There's a stake. I've got a stake here. I've got a vote in what it is, and it's the community itself speaking about what it thinks is a priority. To go there. I really do like that idea.
And I think one of the important things with that community factor is that the winner, assuming if it's a business type of thing, is probably going to see a higher level of support from the community because those are the people that help them get started.
Right.
Yeah.
Granted, it's not an investment that you're going to earn dividends on, but even the people that didn't vote for that project, you know what? They invested $5 in that. And darn it, I want to see it succeed because part of my money helped that business open their doors.
Sure.
Or that project happen. And that's what I like about it is that, like you said, it's not a bank writing a check or something like that, or a foundation writing a check.
Right.
And that will be a component of this without question.
Right.
But it's the community speaking with their money about what they want the community to be.
Yeah.
I think it's a great opportunity for people because I think a lot of people just feel left out.
Yes.
Or there isn't anything that they can do short of joining a committee or joining city council, and not everybody's able to do that. So this gives them some buy-in and some hands-on participation in a very easy way, but something that's going to engage them and get them excited too.
I agree.
I love it.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I do. So those of you who have ideas, may have ideas in mind, hang on to them, start to flesh them out. Keep an eye on the Two Rivers Main Street website, tworiversmainstreet.com, or our Facebook page, which is Two Rivers Main Street. And when this is ready to roll in the next few weeks, we'll definitely start getting the word out that way, as well as other locations like this, of course, and start encouraging people to apply.
Okay.
Sounds amazing.
Great,
Yeah. We definitely want to support you, and we'll we'll put it up on the Two Rivers Talks pages and
Wonderful.
wherever we are on the web. And
Wonderful.
you always bring us something interesting to do.
Well, and you know, it's very possible that one or both of you may be recruited to be on the panel that leads through the applications.
Ah, yes. Well, you never know.
We can do that. We'll help you out as much as we possibly can.
And you always do, and I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah.
It's our pleasure. So, Ethnic Fest, I know we've talked about that in
Yep.
the past, and we know what the lineup is now.
Yes.
And I love Ethnic Fest. We just were interviewing Civic Brand, and they're going to be coming back for their second trip during that time.
Mhm.
And I'm so glad that they're, you know, this on this trip they've got the fish derby and the EVP volleyball, and so at least they're able to experience that today, and they go home tomorrow. But then when they come back in September, it's a whole other side of the city and a whole different season, and I think they're really looking forward to it too.
I hope they are, and I love the car show, but I think Ethnic Fest is my favorite event that Main Street does. And it really is a unique event for a community this size, to give people the opportunity to experience crafts and entertainment and food. And food has become a bigger and bigger part of the event over the years, from a variety of different cultures, and find all of those things in little old downtown Two Rivers.
Right.
You know, and I tend to hold Ethnic Fest up when I go to state Main Street workshops or the national convention, and we're talking about promotions and things like that. I tend to hold Ethnic Fest up as something that is really a gold standard of what Two Rivers Main Street does. It's great to see all of the people downtown. It's wonderful to see businesses like Kurtz's tie into it with their Oktoberfest thing in the evening. It's one of those promotions that while we do close the street, because of the layout of the street and the number of people downtown, it's good for the businesses too, because people go into the businesses that day. You know, while the car show is good for businesses, with the car show, people walk down the middle of the street with cars on both sides of the street. At Ethnic Fest, the vendors are down the middle of the street, and the sidewalks and the parking areas are open. The street is closed, but it makes it easier. It's more inviting for people to walk into a business if they see something in the window that they like.
Right.
Certainly. Great. Well, Roger, anything else?
No, I think we're good for today. Okay,
Wow.
if you're okay with that. Yeah, this is probably a record short Main Street meeting. The last one we were pushing a half an hour.
I know, but it was fun too.
Well, so is this.
Well, true.
Okay,
true.
okay.
And we are looking forward to helping you out for Ethnic Fest.
It's gonna be a blast.
Yeah.
It is.
I can't think of a better pair of MCs that we could have.
Oh, well, those other ones weren't available, so.
That's right. Yeah, the other ones weren't available, but we're always available. We're easy.
Well, and you know, frankly, another plus, the price is right available.
Yeah,
there you
yeah.
go.
It's just
Talk about that.
I know. Go fund me. No, it's just the price of friendship. That's all it is.
There you
You
go.
really put a price on that.
It's priceless. So, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Love seeing
Thanks,
you.
Roger.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Great to see you again as always.
And we will be right back. Todd.
And we'll do like we're chatting, and then I'll turn the camera.
Oh, okay.
Can we do that?
Oh, yeah.
I know, great.
Yeah, great.
Hello, my name is Michael Ditmer. I'm your guest host today for Two Rivers Talks. I'm here with the normal hosts of the show, Darla and Todd.
Normal?
And then, well,
Well,
normal,
50% of us are totally normal. Completely and totally normal.
At any rate, they've asked me to co-host this episode of Two Rivers Talks. We are here today in Still Bend. It's also known as the Bernard Schwartz House on Adams Street in Two Rivers. This is Frank Lloyd Wright's Life magazine dream house. And they've asked me here today to be interviewed by them, so I'll turn it back over to you.
You're doing such a fine, outstanding job. I think I'm just going to let you go with it. Thank you very much for allowing us to be in your home today. It's a real pleasure. It's a treat. I've been to your home before. You were gracious enough one time to invite my husband and I over, and we were able to see the entire home. And then last year for Light Up the Lake, no, that was still part of Light Up the Lake Shore, wasn't it? The architectural,
Yeah, the design show
yeah,
last
right.
fall.
the design weekend.
Yes.
Yeah, and you opened your home up for a reception, and which was really, really nice.
At no charge to the city.
Oh, that's right.
Good
When is-
plug, right?
Good plug, yeah, good reminder. But
Well, we all know that all the city officials watch this show to know what's going on in their community. So
Right.
and we're gonna have fun today. It's hot in here. It's a muggy day in Two Rivers. 80 degrees. Very rarely gets to 80 degrees.
Right.
But we'll be right back after this weather. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was cute.
Okay, here we can keep going.
Oh,
You can edit it, can't you? Okay, no.
oh, absolutely. He
No,
does-
no, it's just one straight
Well, no,
shot. You
actually,
just
it's kinda-
Okay. And
Were you
we're-
sliding over to give me a hug?
just because I just want to make sure we're all in the
We're,
right.
just,
We're
we're all
good.
here to sandwich you.
Okay.
So.
My God.
Anyway, don't stop
It
talking.
sounds so
I'll
wrong
just
on
answer
many
your
levels.
questions.
Okay. All right. First of all, how long have you owned this property?
Have owned the property since 2003. Originally bought the house with another couple. Then my brother Gary, who lives in Japan, and I bought them out in 2007, I think it is. But I've had ownership interest since 2003.
Okay, I didn't realize it had been that long.
It has been that long.
Wow. Okay. And how did you come across it?
Well, I've been a Frank Lloyd Wright enthusiast, for lack of a better word, for most of my life. As I traveled around the country, I would go out of my way to see different Frank Lloyd Wright houses and house museums. And so I had seen this house on the market, and Edie Anderson was the previous owner. She was the second owner, bought it from the Schwartzes. And she described Two Rivers as a small vacation town on Lake Michigan, which, as you know, we are and becoming more and more so. And we came out here and made an offer. 6 months later, we came to terms, and the rest is history.
I think it's fantastic. Now, here's a question I've had for you for the several years that I've known you. When you moved in, was this house a blank canvas? Did you have to bring in the furniture, or was it already furnished? You have so many cool knickknacks and the books and everything that makes a house a home. Now, was that all stuff that you brought into it?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
When we
It's
bought the house,
stunning.
it was covered with siding. So.
Oh, really?
and the-
Wow.
So we had to remove the siding. Parts of the house began to collapse. We had to shore that up and rebuild parts of the house. The chimney mast off the back side in the sunken court was so badly spalling that we completely redid that brick.
Really?
I could go on and on. And so the first year, we put almost as much money as we paid for the house into the house just to stabilize it. And then we've accumulated books and objects over the years. Sometimes we'll bring something into the house, and we say the house kind of spits it out if it doesn't like it. So it either fits in the house,
Right.
and the house kind of lets you know, to speak metaphysically
Yeah.
for a moment, that this doesn't belong here.
Okay.
But the whole idea here is to give people an experience of living in Frank Lloyd Wright's Life Magazine Dream House, or to live in a masterpiece designed by Frank Lloyd Wright. So what we're doing in a way is almost giving people a time travel experience. So you'll notice there's only one TV in here, a very small TV. We don't have a microwave in the kitchen. They didn't have microwaves back in 1940 when this house was finished. And there's different not works of art on the walls, because the house itself is a work of art.
Right.
So it's hard to hang works of art on the house, but the
Right.
shelves are ready to embrace different things, not just from 1940 or that era, but great design over time. So there's lots of things from mid-century things, from the 60s, even
Okay.
some things from the 70s. We have an orange birdhouse up in the entryway.
Okay. Oh, wow.
And that did so Frank Lloyd Wright named it Still Bend.
Yes.
Right. And so when he, did he ever speak or write about the house or the design of it, or did he kind of let the architecture speak for itself?
Yeah, so again, this house is based directly off his submission to a 1938 article in Life magazine
Okay.
for a dream house for a family of moderate income. And so he wrote about this house and this design a lot. The original family for Life magazine didn't build it. They were in Minneapolis and they decided not to build it. And so Bernard and Fern Schwartz of Schwartz Manufacturing, which, as you know, is still in operation. They're celebrating 100 years of being in business.
Really?
Amazing.
This year.
Yeah. We should interview them too.
Yes, you should.
Yeah.
I think they're dead.
No, well, the descendants are
No,
right,
yeah.
I know.
Alexander
I know.
Schwartz is still in the family. Alexander Schwartz runs that company.
Okay.
And at any rate, Bernard and Fern had a new young son, Steve, and they were ready to build a new house. So they had subscribed to Life magazine and seen the house. They contacted Wright. He told them, go find a nice big lot on the water, preferably out of city limits, which I believe this was not in city limits back then.
At that time, yeah.
These were cornfields out here and not a lot of trees. It was farming land. And so when they found this plot plan on the East Twin River with that big slow bend in the river, Frank Lloyd Wright decided to call the design Still Bend. Now, for 70-some years, mostly people didn't know that Frank Lloyd Wright called it Still Bend because not a lot of people had looked at the plans, but it was clear in the plans. He wrote Still Bend, home for Bernard and Fern Schwartz.
Okay.
So he called this house a covered terrace. So there's windows all around the first floor. Those all used to be French doors. They were removed in the 70s. They were probably warped, etc.
Yeah.
And that's our next big restoration project, is to put the French doors back in so you can open up the doors all the way around this first floor and get a breeze through here. Again, we're doing this in July and it's almost 80 degrees here.
Right.
So it'd be nice
My
to
glasses are sliding down my face as we're speaking.
I know, but it'd be nice to have a little bit of that natural air conditioning blowing through here.
Right.
So
I can't even imagine. It would get dusty at times. I'm sure, especially because you have all this open space behind you. There's trees and everything, but by the same token, you would get talk about a cross breeze. I mean, that's a huge cross breeze.
Yeah.
But lovely.
they'd be welcome today.
Oh yeah, that's okay. So go ahead.
No, it's really great to get the story about sort of the naming of the place. And I know that for Wright, it was always really important to kind of fit with the landscape that was around, sort of the design aesthetic that was there. And so designing a home like this to be on the water and to take advantage of cross breezes, kind of hearing about that is really interesting. So as far as something you said a little bit earlier about this being a time machine, so people can stay here at the house. In fact, I just seen a story, congratulations, that one of the top B&B in Wisconsin.
The most popular B&B, Airbnb,
Yeah.
or vacation rental.
It's a big deal.
I don't want
Yeah.
Airbnb to steal that name, but
Sure.
we're a vacation rental. Yes, we happen to be on Airbnb, but you can book directly through our website. It's actually a lot cheaper. You don't have to pay Airbnb a couple $100 is
Right.
what they charge
Oh, okay.
Sure.
the people to rent it. So primarily what we do is our primary mission is to give people the opportunity to experience living in a Frank Lloyd Wright designed masterpiece. Now, we also do public tours all summer long, 2, sometimes 3 times a week. We do public tours between people staying here. And last year we had people from 30 different countries, I believe it was, that came through.
Oh my gosh.
And a typical tour might have 1 or 2 people from Two Rivers or Manitowoc or this area, and then there'll be people from Chicago, and then and then spin the globe in a point, or look at Chicago a lot more. But we get a lot of people from Chicago for the tours, and then we do a couple weddings here in the summer, corporate retreats, special events like we did, contributed to the city, like that.
I think that's great. I want to just go back where it's a little bit to the design, and I kind of remember you telling me that when this plan was designed, that there was certain materials that he actually wanted to use, but because of it being built in this area, he did some substitutions I think, wasn't it what, like the wood and some of the stone, and he went with more local items?
So I'll show you the Life magazine in a little bit, but if you look
Okay.
at the Life magazine, you'll notice that it's stone piers and stucco. It also had glass Pyrex tubes layered together to bring in light, which is what he was doing in the Johnson Wax Administration Building, which was concurrent with this. But he didn't build exactly the original design. He decided to do the red Tidewater cypress that you see here today, the red brick, and the red concrete floors.
Love it.
Because that was a new style of architecture that he really wanted to promote. He called this style of house natural house. He also used the word Usonian. Usonian for him was short for United States of North America. His thinking was that every middle class family in this country should be able to also afford great architecture and to live in great architecture. He thought this sort of architecture was really a democratic architecture. He also called it organic.
Okay.
And then he
Wow.
didn't use pesticides, but it's all these materials are of the earth. This
Right.
red Tidewater cypress, the baked earth in the brick, etc. But Usonian, short for United States of North America, he built about 60 Usonian houses. This is one of the first ones. They were typically much smaller than this, about half the size.
Okay.
This house is almost 3,000 square feet, and most of the Usonian houses were about 1,500 square feet. But they were all meant to be built with this board and batten design. So you see the boards here, and these battens with brass screws. These have a tongue and groove. These hold this wall to an interior core of plywood. And then the outside wall is also board battens screwed to that same interior core of plywood. So it becomes 2.5 inches of solid
Okay.
wood. But instead of adorning it with paint or all the work that goes into plaster and lath that they did back then, and then the plasters would come in and plaster the walls, 3 coats. That was a lot of labor. This was meant to be very affordable. In fact, they were meant to be kit houses. All the wood could, in theory, be milled at a factory and then shipped to the site. And a industrious homeowner with a screwdriver can then screw his house together.
That's cool.
Now the Schwartzes didn't do that.
Yeah.
There's only one family that tried to do that. It took them about 10 years to build their
Oh
house.
my God.
But the whole design was for
It's not a
for
Barbie
kid
house where you're gonna get it together before Christmas morning.
No.
Yeah. That is awesome, but it's a lovely, lovely place. And we'll be seeing it here in the footage. But I wanted to ask you, what did you do in your previous life before you're so entrenched now with this, and what did you used to do?
Well, I moved to Two Rivers almost 4 years ago now. We bought this house in 2003, so I would commute from St. Paul, 5 hours back and forth, at least monthly, sometimes more, but roughly on a monthly basis. Check in on the house and do projects in the house. Well, I've done a number of things in my life. I've been a television producer. I worked for public television in the Twin Cities. I worked on national television shows. 3 of the shows I worked on won Emmys.
Could you mention what they are?
The first show that I worked on that won an Emmy was How to Talk Minnesotan. Now, that was with Howard Moore. He wrote a book called How to Talk Minnesotan.
Oh, really?
I just wish someone would do one How to Talk Wisconsin. Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Because there's a particular vernacular here, but a lot of the things that we made fun of in that special were just the peculiar things that people do in Minnesota, like eat hot dish, or have what's called the Minnesota long goodbye, where someone's going to get ready to leave. About half hour later, you might see them driving down the driveway,
Okay.
and you stand and wave. It's called the Minnesota long goodbye. They have that here. It's the Wisconsin long goodbye.
There's a variation of that in various states. Yeah,
Yes.
right.
Yes.
Those are just the annoying relatives that you didn't want to visit in the first place.
And then I was also a consultant in the restaurant industry.
Oh my gosh.
Had a customer service training company. We did customer service training for the Department of Tourism.
Wow.
And different hotels and restaurants, etc. And I've also been a general contractor. I used to rehab houses during the foreclosure crisis back in Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Okay.
I've done other things, but that's...
You've had a varied career. I mean, you've had a lot of experiences, and that's kind of what's made you who you are, which is like really fascinating. And I like hanging out with you. You're always a challenge and a joy and a surprise, all wrapped up in a Ditmer.
Might say likewise to you.
Yeah. You never know what you're gonna get.
And I like Todd too. So.
Yeah.
Thank you. I
yeah.
appreciate that.
I do too. He's okay. Oh, I have a present for you later.
You did?
Yeah, I do like you. You're all right. And now, can you tell us? Now, you're very super involved with the city in different capacities. Can you tell us what you've been doing on the branding and marketing, as an example?
Yeah, I'm sure Todd has talked about this on one of your shows, but what am I doing?
Not too much, a little bit,
well.
but
Well, by the time this airs, most people in the city will know that the city has contracted with a place branding agency. What that means is the city has hired a company called Civic Brands. The intention is to really develop a clear narrative in the marketplace, to use jargon, as to who and what Two Rivers is. And so I serve on that. It's a special committee of the city council. And then I'm also working with Kurt Andrews, who's the head of that committee. We're working to promote the summer events, a lot of the summer events in Two Rivers, and just the summer to bring more people into town, specifically Bands on the Beach. We've really upgraded what we're doing there. And Ethnic Festival and some of the other large festivals.
okay.
We might as well make parking even more impossible on those,
Absolutely.
on those days.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, we have welcome arms here in Two Rivers. The more, the merrier. So I'm working on that, but we really want to get back in that initiative, at least speaking for myself only. I really think there's so much in this city worth promoting. Yeah, the beach is excellent. I was down there yesterday for the 4th of July. It was packed.
Oh, I bet.
And people know the beach is here, but people don't know that we have a world-class wood type and printing museum. A lot of people don't know that you can get fresh caught Lake Michigan whitefish at Susan Q's. All the local people know that here. And we really have a rich history here. And I think whatever our brand turns out to be, I really think it's going to have a lot of a nod to the history and the rich cultural history and fishing history and manufacturing history, even though fishing and manufacturing aren't the key to having us thrive again. There will be a part for sure.
Right.
So I'm involved in that, and I'm also on the Main Street Design Committee and the Christmas Decorations
Oh,
Committee.
fabulous.
And so I've really jumped into give my time and energies to the city.
Okay. I didn't know you were on the Christmas decoration committee. We talked about that in our last episode because we've seen the products that you guys decided on, and they're really cool. So I didn't know you were on that committee. And I know, like with the branding and marketing, when we first got together to talk about it, to me it seemed like, well, what an easy question to ask. What is Two Rivers? Or what do you think Two Rivers is? Or what does Two Rivers mean to you? And then you reflect on it, it's like, that is not an easy answer. You can come up with little tidbits and bits and pieces, you know, but to be very concise and to have an actual answer that says it all, that's tough. This is the first time I've been through a branding exercise, and I have learned a lot. You know, I wasn't flippant at the outset, but I was ignorant and didn't realize just how much goes into really marketing and marketing well. So
It's one of those things where if you haven't been involved with branding, it sounds like highfalutin marketing jargon, but it's really about how you talk about the place where you live so that others can understand what's great about it and would want to be here, right?
Yes.
And I think that you know, it makes so much sense for, you know, people like you and I and Darla, you know, to be involved with the committee because as volunteers, because I think we've all got a stake in and a love for what the city is and what it does. And obviously, the wider identity of the city has something to do with Still Bend and what you're doing here to promote, the brand of this place. But then, more broadly, making it as attractive a place as it can possibly be. And so, thank you for being involved with those conversations and giving your time to the city.
Well, thank you both. Both Todd, in terms of full disclosure, both Todd and Darla are on this marketing committee. The one thing if I can leave us with anything around that, it's not about bringing more tourism, and it's about bringing more tourism. It's not about bringing more people who want to come and live here, although it's about that as well. And it's not about bringing in businesses, but it's that. In other words, it's not just about those individual things. It's coming up with a identity in a way that everybody in the city, and we're consistent when Two Rivers is described out there in the world.
Right.
If they're doing an article in the Herald Times Reporter or some other media outlet, they'll have a clear description of what Two Rivers is. They may not mention anything about the beach or tourism when they're talking about some economic development, but we want it to be a consistent identity. I'll use this word again, in the marketplace, whether it's the marketplace for places to live, the marketplace for places to start a new business, or where to find the best beach in Wisconsin.
Absolutely.
And to bring it back to Still Bend, it's the same kind of issue. Still Bend is not made out of Pyrex glass and synthetic materials. And if you were to talk about it in that way, people would come here and see it and they'd say, well, no, it's not. In the same way, we need to make sure that the marketing and branding that we do, we talk about the elements of what makes this a great place to live, it's got to be true. It's got to be what it is to live here. And any resident who would be told about what it's like to live here would have to say, oh yeah, I see, that's definitely the way we are. That's definitely the spirit of being in this place.
And I think right now this was the right time for this group of people to get together, because we have you have experience and background in this. You've got experience and background, and Kurt Andrews does too. So we've got three people who you actually know what you're doing. It's not just a group of people saying we got to brand it and then they come up with a different logo. We have a wealth of knowledge, and it was like the planets aligned. So we have the right people on the committee.
I'm from the weird planet, so. Yeah.
And I just go with I can't do that anymore. I got arthritis. But and just one thing I want to just tell you guys too is I've learned so much from both of you. Oh yeah, absolutely, and I really enjoy that and I appreciate it. So, Bill, it's not what it looks like at all. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. What do you say? What do you say? Say no more. Say no more. So anyway, did you have any more questions for Michael, or did you want to talk about something?
Oh, man, I could talk about the house all day long, but if you want to ask me specific questions.
Are there any upcoming events that you're particularly excited about?
Well, like I said, we just a couple weeks ago announced our summer tour schedule, and so people are coming. A lot of people are coming up here from all over the place to do our tours. We have a tour today at 2 o'clock. We have a scheduled, we haven't promoted it yet, a farm-to-table dinner here on Friday, Memorial Day, Labor Day weekend. It's in the fall.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, so Ethnic Fest Day.
So yes, on the 30th, is that the Friday of Labor Day weekend? On that Friday
it would be the
of
day
Labor Day
before.
weekend.
Okay.
Yeah.
On Friday, we're going to have a farm-to-table feast here, featuring Heirloom Kitchen Company, which is a caterer that we like to use for events, etc. here. They catered the event here.
Yeah.
So that's coming up. Let's see. As far as big events or public events, the public tours, and you can come to the farm-to-table feast.
That sounds really good. And down in our doobly-doo, we're going to have all of your contact information, and so that people can contact you. And hopefully, if somebody wants to rent rent the space out for an entire week or what have you.
Is that your nickname for Basil Ishkabibble? Is doobly-doo?
No, the doobly-doo is sort of what's below the video. You know,
The show
people
notes.
Yeah.
Oh, right here.
Yeah, right below, yeah, as everyone can plainly see. So.
You had this perplexed look on your face, and I was like, what
don't
am
know
I
what
saying?
doobly-doo.
Am I stuttering?
No, I just wanted to be clear.
Wait, you were a television
Doobly-doo.
producer and you never heard of the doobly-doo?
Well, speaking of doobly-doos, our website is www.stillbend.com right here on the doobly-doo.
Wonderful.
2 doobly-doos for you to do.
Thank you.
Say that again really fast.
2 doobly-doos for you to do.
And on that note, Michael, we really appreciate your time and for inviting us into your home. And Stillbend is wonderful. I hope everybody comes out to see it in one of the tours or gets out here for the Farm to Table event.
Yeah.
And looks you up on the website and learn more about the history of this wonderful place set here in our city of Two Rivers.
Absolutely.
Well, great. It was fun.
Thank you
I
so
can
much.
tell-
It was
talk all
wonderful to
afternoon.
see you.
Thanks, Michael. All right.
Okay.
All right. Well, hello, everybody. This is Todd Nilson and Darla LeClair here with the Two Rivers Talks, and we're very excited to have some guests with us today from far out of town. The founder and members of Civic Brands, a destination marketing agency. Is that a fair thing to say?
Absolutely.
Frank Schwartz, you're the founder, and then maybe you want to kind of introduce your teammates here. And
Yeah, for sure.
we have lots of questions about
Yeah.
why you're here in Two Rivers and what you're planning to do.
Yeah, so I'm Ryan Short, founder of Civic Brand. We've been an agency for about 11 years. Started, corporate branding and all of that, and then kind of slowly through working with some planning firms and architect firms, kind of found our way into sort of the destination city side of things. And so, yeah, we work with communities on, community branding, but it's not just purely about tourism. That's tourism, economic development, civic pride, all of those things wrapped up. I'll let the rest of the team introduce themselves.
Yeah, so I'm Colin Coolidge, creative director at Civic Brand, and of those 11 years, I've been there 5.5. So yeah, a lot of what he said, and I'm excited about these questions. Start throwing some questions.
Excellent.
I'm Brisa Byford, I'm a strategist with Civic Brand. Been here about 3 years and same as everyone.
Brisa, you said?
Yes, Brisa.
Great.
Mhm.
Well, and there was a strategic reason why I did your name, because I pronounced Ryan Short really easily. I wasn't sure if I was going to get you guys right, and Darla will tell you I'm terrible with names. So,
As am I.
so thank you for saving my bacon on that one. We're super glad you're here. Just by way of context, so Darla and I are both on the marketing and branding committee. We volunteer our time with that here in the city of Two Rivers. And as part of that effort, we were looking for an agency to help us tell a more coherent or cohesive narrative about the city. We went through the process of looking at some other agencies, and you guys really stood out. Not just for your chops on what you're doing, but the video work that you've done is outstanding. You can't see this on camera, but there's actually a set of cameras behind us that are filming us as we go. So it's very meta right now. Now you can't see it actually, but we're really pleased and happy that you guys are here. And you're here for a couple of days, and then you're going to come back again a little bit later on. So tell us a little bit about your process and how you work.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think, the big thing for us is engagement. There's a ton of great design agencies, there's a ton of great branding agencies, but I think the big difference, with a corporate brand, you can kind of just get the stakeholders and the owners in a room, talk about where do we want to go, and create a brand and just be on your way. A community is such a diverse thing with so many different viewpoints and contradicting viewpoints that you can't do that. You can't have behind closed curtains approach. And so that's honestly what we like about it. That's why the video piece is such a huge component, because it's at the end of the day, it's storytelling, and so it's getting out there and talking to people, hearing their stories, filming, creating assets that they can go share that. So I think that's just a huge part of our process, is that engagement. And so we work on project for months before we ever design anything, because it's mostly just talking and filming and listening. And then I think the other thing that is really valuable is an outside perspective. I think a lot of communities, you know, when they do, it's always great to support local, right? You want to, you know, but I think there is some value in bringing in an outside perspective, because there's like a saying that it's hard to see your label from inside the jar. And I think there's things that you just take for granted. You know where this is, and so you assume visitors always do. But having that outside perspective, we see things a little differently, and so it's we kind of can learn from each other. You know, help you guys say what you're communicating and not communicating, and then you tell us what you're wanting to communicate. So.
You know, and we did look at several other, you know, companies, and there was one that was really standing out, and then you guys came along and blew it out of the water. It was, I just loved it because it was, your approach is so interactive. You are out in the community, you're experiencing. You're not just relying on our verbiage, you know, or this is what we are, but you have to have that visceral experience to really understand us. And your videos, what you had done for, what's it, Heartland Lakes.
Yeah.
That was so cool, you know, and I know that it helped you understand the area and how to present their message. And it was like, you know, brakes, you know, we're putting it in a different gear and we're going in a different direction. So I'm just super pleased that we were able to come across you guys. And I know like Kurt Andrews, who's he's spearheading the branding and marketing committee, and he's also on city council. He's put a lot of time and effort into this, and he's done a fantastic job. And then we do have our committee too, who's put a lot of time into it. And I'm just really glad that you guys finally are here, because it's like a build up to a vacation. I wasn't going anywhere, the vacation was coming to me.
Yeah, right.
So, so welcome. And so far, okay, it's Friday, you flew in on Wednesday. Tell us some of the things that you've done in just the past 2 days.
Yeah, sure.
Well, I was just going to point out, kind of in line with what you guys were just asking, is there's an important first step, or early step, I'll say, in the process, that we typically leave that first day or a chunk of the first day without a tour guide, without going through the city with somebody that's like, oh, you have to see this or see this. Because we want to experience it as if we're brand new, like anybody else will start to market to. And it's, man, did we turn right when we should have turned left? Or there wasn't signage to tell us here's how we get to the beach or something like that. So that's purposely done.
Okay.
And then a second ago you were talking about us coming back in September. And I think that's also a crucial thing, that this isn't a 2-month project or whatever. Part of that is seeing it now. And it's summertime and people are out and the beach makes sense and all that. Mm-hmm. And there's a whole nother, 4 seasons, but a whole other time of year that we need to come back and see what's that like. There's, there's a perfect time and a, tourist season, and then there's others, and that's a reality, and that's a part of it, because part of this is, people moving here and bringing their businesses here. So that's right. Not just the, hey, we went for the perfect time in the summer.
Right.
Mm-hmm. There's other aspects to it.
Well, that's something that I think stood out for me about your processes as we were learning about how you guys work, which is that it is very out and involved with the community, talking to people, encountering the city as it is, and not having sort of that guided, curated version. Because I know you get somebody like Darla or me or Kurt, we would be doing exactly that. We'd say, oh, you got to check out this other thing.
We're doing this
because we're
not what you want to do, but what
right. We're some of the believe we're some of the biggest boosters in the city, and really big fans of what's going on here. And obviously, we wouldn't do the podcast if we didn't believe passionately in what we're doing. So,
well, I think another fear too, that I guess in doing this and starting to do this a while back, that I would think people would have like this, where these idiots from Texas coming here or whatever, and it's you don't want to come in and say we know what's right. That's why the process is so. Let's talk to people, let's bring that out, and we're just helping that story be told. And part of it too is the being too close to it. So something that might be one of your biggest assets, well, yeah, we just go to the beach all the time, that's not a big deal. I'm like, wait, that's something. So it is important, and it is important not for us to come in and just go, we got it, we toured for 2 hours, let's go make a logo. Mm-hmm. No, right. That's not it.
Right. Now, Brisa is a strategist on the team.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about your role and what you do. And I say that with a knowing glint in my eye because that's what I put on my title, is what I do for my day job. But I'm curious about like what kinds of things you do when you
Sure. Yeah, I mean it's a little bit of everything, honestly. We're a small team, so everyone wears a lot of hats. But in general, it's what is the messaging strategy? What are we trying to communicate? What is the story we're trying to tell? And then kind of how does that translate into visually? What does that look like? And all of the kind of different assets that go along with
the
that.
brand principles
Right.
that you dig out and clearly define, and then we kind of bounce them against you guys and test them and everything else. That's a huge step long before you open up Photoshop and Illustrator and start doing stuff.
Exactly.
It's all strategic. It's not I like purple or whatever, like it all comes and is tied back to those brand principles.
Yeah. Well, in fact, you helped us play a card game
Yeah.
last night, right?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that, because that was a really interesting exercise that we had two different groups of people playing.
Sure. Yeah. So it's a card game where every card has two different words. It's double-sided. There's two different words on either side, and then we split them up into piles. So there's like a pile of these words we absolutely are. These words we absolutely are not. These words were maybe torn on between front and back, and then these ones just don't apply. So that's a super helpful exercise for
Super
us.
frustrating to do. Yeah,
Yeah.
this was a really hard exercise,
It
guys.
was.
there was a lot of quibbling about about words. And
Yeah.
do we want to flip the card or not, or how's it going to
Right.
work? Right? Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think the important thing for us is the conversation that happens when two people are debating a term.
Mhm.
It almost doesn't matter which one the group ultimately votes on, but it's because there's a lot of, you could say, like, I remember one from last night, the word is simple. That can mean really different things to different people. Some people can take that as like, you're dumb, like a simple person is a dumb person, but it could also mean like, a simplified lifestyle.
Really zen, right? Yeah, right.
And
yeah.
so those nuances between the word are really important for us to understand, like, well, what do you mean when you say simple? What does simple mean to Two Rivers? What does simple mean to you versus you? And so that conversation is really interesting. And a lot of our process, obviously we want to create something that, is great and that you guys can implement, but it's almost, we kind of sometimes joke, it's almost like a therapy session for the community, because it gets people to think about things and talk about things that, maybe they focused on just their business or their thing, but they haven't always kind of talked with other people and neighbors that sometimes, view things differently. And, you're saying, one person's saying, we're progressive, and the other person's like, we're definitely not progressive. It's
Yeah.
interesting to hear those conversations, and I think that just that conversation is valuable.
And it was interesting. It was I think tempers were getting a little warm, actually, but the thing is that, when we first started this process and I was asked to be on the committee, I thought, oh God, how simple is this gonna be? And it's not. And there's so much psychology involved and understanding people, and you have to drill down to the core message, which at first I thought, how hard could that possibly be?
It's obvious, right?
Really, it's got to be obvious. So I have learned so much during this process, but the psychology that's attached to what you do, it must be fascinating for you guys sometimes just to listen to some people, how they discuss their community,
Yeah, it's also great just to see how much people care about their community and want to make it better. And there's always like optimists and pessimists within any community and group, but just we see people's eyes light up when they're giving us tours or telling us about their business or their family that's been there, and so that's just super rewarding, And I think a big thing for me when kind of trying to help shape our process is, I saw a lot, like just in the branding and agency world, research and strategy was like, it was kind of just a thing people just said, because who says their work's not strategic, right? Everybody, they were strategic. And even the ones that would do the research, I feel like they would go through the motions, do the strategy, do the research, and then they would just design or create the same thing they would have created whether they had done that or not. So it was kind of just like, they just kind of sold an extra strategy service and they just did what they were going to do.
A lot of organizations get turned, like in the corporate world, a lot of where I work, a lot of organizations get turned off by strategy because they don't see the connection between all the legwork and the research and the actual output of what's in it, and there's no connectivity between the two.
Yeah, they want a shortcut and just like, that sounds great, but let's just pay you to do the thing, not the thinking.
I think that's why
part.
documenting these things, the process and everything else are so important, because you have a lot of people that haven't come to the early meetings. Maybe it's they couldn't make it or whatever, and at the end they see this thing that you pay all this money to strategy bit and all that, and this is it's purple circle. Good job. But then you go watch the documentary and you figure out that these are tied to the brand principles. There's all this strategic work behind it. That's so important.
Yeah, it's great, and I think that external perspective is so important. When we started this process, we brought in another consultancy that was a little more local but they still had a local connection to it, and they did a great job, and we kind of co-ran a workshop to start to collect some of those stories. But it was exactly what you're saying, it's that idea of like, how do we support this brand platform by having the stories that underlie that, so that it's true, so that it rings true, because again, this comes back to that transparency to the rest of the community. It's got to seem true. It's got to sound right to the people that live here. Otherwise, the brand won't stick, right?
You definitely see some crossed arms in some of these projects. The first week or whatever, the first trip, and they start doing this, and it's more inviting. And okay, I see where they got that. I see the thread there. That makes sense. Yeah, they're listening.
What was the most surprising thing you guys have run into coming here for this first visit here? Yeah, what kind of stood out for you so far?
It's just all the things to do. Do you think a smaller place in general? I just said that and I stopped there. Okay, we're there for 3.5 days. Like, what could possibly? There's so much. We're tired every day because the days are so long. But yet, you actually don't think about how tired you are until you hit the pillow, because it's like we were doing this and we went on this tour and we saw we talked about the shipwrecks and the Frank Lloyd Wright House. I mean, there's so much. So that's been surprising in a very positive way.
And what are some of the places that you've already been, and where are you still going?
Yeah, so we've been to Point Beach, the lighthouses, walked out on the pier. We just took a tour of the Hamilton Wood Type Museum, which was amazing.
Isn't that neat?
It's really awesome.
Cool. We took a pontoon ride, did some kayaking on the river, kind of got to tour from the dunes, the sandhill dunes.
Woodland
Dunes.
Yep. Nice.
And talking to some local business owners. Emily's a new ice cream shop,
Right.
Which is, every community's like the problem we're trying to solve is like new businesses that can entertain both residents and tourists and young people, and like she's nailed it with that, So that's exciting to see, and hopefully that like sparks other entrepreneurs and people to see like what is possible. And so we interviewed her and kind of learned about her shop. Just the bikes along the lake, just watching the waves crash. I mean, that's probably the thing that was most surprising to me, because I've been to a handful of places on the Great Lakes. And some of them are not as nearly as like picturesque and like a true beach and like beautiful, Sometimes it's just kind of like a lake and very like,
rocky outcropping and
and so that was really surprising. And then the first thing that Clay, one of the guys on our team, mentioned when we were driving in was just like how beautiful, like the flowers and like the landscaping and just like some of those attention to details. You can really see that there's just that pride and that.
Just the upkeep of public parks.
Yeah.
We talked about that this morning a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's very much in line with the flowers and that main street you come in on.
Yeah. Very, very striking, right? Yeah. Well,
you noticed it.
So
sure.
Yeah.
Makes us feel good.
I know. I don't get out there and weed, but I sure enjoy looking at it. So.
Yeah. Well, so recognizing for the moment that it's all about Two Rivers, and we're very proud of that. But what can you point to any sort of notable successes in other either counties or cities or destinations that you've worked with? Like, what can we look at as maybe sort of a potential outcome from some of this?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, you guys have the great bones of a downtown and Main Street, but there's also a lot of, you know, there's some vacancies and buildings that, you know, can be updated. And I think, you know, part of this process can just invigorate a new just sense of like pride for like possibly current owners and the city to like see that public-private partnership and kind of help put some, you know, incentives and money in places and attract businesses that, so I think just seeing that kind of return to Main Street, and that's the thing you're seeing across the country, right? It was like Main Street and then big shopping malls, and then those are being killed by Amazon, and now it's this like return to Main Street thing. And so I think, I mean, I would be super excited to come back and see like where you guys are 3 years from now, 5 years from now, like what is Main Street, what does this Main Street look like? And I think that's a real tangible thing to think about and to look for. You know, other successes are, you know, sometimes more just increasing the tax base and, you know, very like metric based signs of success. But then a big one is just awareness, you know, of people just saying, oh yeah, Two Rivers, beautiful place, and I love it because X, or I've heard about it, it's great about this, even if they've never been there. Because there's a lot of cities that we can say what that city is known for, and we've never been there, you know.
Sort of burnish the reputation a little bit.
Yeah. So I think those are some goals, obviously.
When you're talking about Main Street, we were talking about kind of a chicken and egg situation where there's like, not the people, do you open the business, or the business, and it'll bring the people, you know, which comes first. And talking with Emily, like, what a great story. Somebody's got to do it first. And she believed in that idea and did it. And I forget the city example you were talking about earlier, where somebody opened a business, made that bold first step, and it was this domino effect where the downtown just, I forget the city.
Lockhart, Texas.
Lockhart, okay. Yeah. So that, I'm excited to see where that goes.
Starting to create momentum. All you need is that initial success.
Somebody's gotta
and somebody to follow that person.
It's a slow, I mean, it's not like it's an overnight thing. You know, you're not going to roll out a brand and then all of a sudden,
Right.
you know. So it's incremental steps, and each step is a big individual person's, like with businesses, that's like the biggest decision and purchase of their life, you know, and it takes several of those life-changing decisions to make a city different, you know.
Absolutely.
But it can start with something as small as like a new ice cream shop, you know.
Yeah.
And it's groundbreaking. I think that's, you know, because one thing that Two Rivers has always been known for is our innovation and things that we've created here or started here. And that spirit is still within the people who are from here. I'm a transplant. I'm originally from Los Angeles, and I just happened to end up in Two Rivers. And then Todd, he's not originally from this area either. But you can just see it in the people. It's their spirit, it's their work ethic. And I think that we've come to the realization now that, you know, all of our large employers are gone. And, you know, our city was completely different, you know, 30, 40, 50 years ago. What do we do now? And we can't just keep looking in the rearview mirror and say, you know, and expect like a large company just to plop down, you know, like in a cornfield or something like that, and then everybody's employed again. That was a large company flopping down,
Just dropped.
far out. I take back everything I say.
Now
It is
hiring.
possible. Now hiring. So, you know, but the thing is that none of these companies, no company ever starts out large. They start off in a kitchen or a basement or a garage. And that's why we're really passionate, especially with like Two Rivers Biz startup companies. And I know like Todd and his wife Noelle, they do everything they possibly can to help people who want to start a business, because that is a long road to hoe,
Right.
and there's a lot to know. And so we're kind of taking that approach, you know. It's a two-pronged approach. We want to be attractive to visitors, yet we have an obligation to the residents of the city, and to make sure that they have a fantastic quality of life, that they have good employment. And so we're looking at all different aspects, and it's a huge chunk, but
Yeah, I think, and it's a long road, it's hard, but I think it's healthier. I think somebody even, you know, I think it's a healthier way for this. There's a there's another podcast and a blog, Strong Towns, that's all about kind of, you know, urban planning and all of that. And it's basically the idea of incremental development, not all your eggs in one basket, very, very adaptable, because there's a lot of communities that do still have that one large employer, and they're so dependent on it that they're like, it's all your eggs in one basket, and they're just kind of constantly living on this fear of what if that goes away. And the fact that you guys have kind of gone through that, you're alive, now we're like looking at what is like the next phase look like for
Right.
Two Rivers. And it's, I think that more incremental, creative, entrepreneurial, you know, more adaptable is actually healthier, because it's less catastrophic when, you know, you lose one restaurant and then something else comes and replaces it, versus you lose somebody that employs 1,500 people. Like, yeah, it doesn't get replaced overnight.
Right.
And then, you know, also just the shift in priorities that people have of, you know, an industrial factory on the river versus now kind of the lifestyle of like more kayaking and like enjoying the outdoors in the river in a different way, not seeing it as an industrial mechanism to move logs up and down the river and ship your product, but as a recreation place and healthy living and all of that. I think that's a shift. And just watching that time-lapse video of you know, the old building going down, and then all of a sudden you see these like churches in the background re-emerge that were hidden, and you know, you can see the green space and there's birds out there. I mean, that's exciting, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, so.
You know, and the thing is too, is that, you know, and it is the chicken and the egg type of situation, but to me, it seems like if we have an attractive community, someplace where people want to be, is a great place to raise kids, or it's a great place to recreate. That's going to, and we have a very fluid society now. You can work from home very easily. You don't have to be, you know, in a suit, in a cubicle 9 to 5. So people can live in a community like this and yet be reporting to somebody down in, you know, like over in Sacramento or what have you. And I think that as an attractive community where it's pleasant and you're going to have a good life, I think that's going to attract employers. And there's a symbiosis, you know, so it's a delicate balance, but I think we're able to do that. And, you know, when you look at like state to state migration patterns, you know, there's some states that are just bleeding people. Well, where are they going to? Oh, forget about South Dakota, just keep traveling a couple more hours and you're gonna be in Wisconsin in this really fantastic place. Right. And I think that there's different markets that we can capture. And one of the ones that I would like to kind of focus on, because I'm prior military, is looking at, or kind of like, and I don't want to say target them, but you know, keep them in the forefront, are military installations where you have a lot of people retiring or going through separation. Because a lot of the people who are in the military are not going to go back to their hometown. They went into the military for a certain purpose, and it might be because there were no jobs, you know, so they're more apt to move someplace they've never been before. So I think that is a really good, that would be a really interesting demographic to go after.
Yeah, for sure.
So I've been curious about this as we started having conversations yesterday. What kinds of problems do you hear on a regular basis from places you visit to help that they perceive as a huge glaring problem, but it's almost never the actual problem, where it's never sort of like the big issue that needs to be addressed?
Sure. Yeah, I think one, there's just a lot of confusion about the role cities play, like how cities work even, right? So you know, we'll go to public meetings and we want to talk about things, and it's very easy for citizens that don't fully understand that to just kind of view the city as like this genie that like, I'm just gonna go tell you we need parking over here and I want this, and why don't we have this type of restaurant? And you know, cities aren't in the business of opening restaurants, and you know, they create zoning and environments and incentives to attract that, but at the end of the day, it's up to the private money and developers and investment to do some of that. And so that's one thing, is just, there's just that hurdle that you have to get over of, okay, we're not talking about parking right now, we're trying to talk about these other things. Do you guys have any other thoughts of?
I think we talked about it this morning. There's always going to be some people that no matter, what you do, they're negative. Hopefully that's a very small amount.
We don't have anybody like that in Two Rivers.
No.
Do you ever get out of your house?
Oh, that.
I think there's a middle group that, I don't want to say on the fence, but they're changeable. They're on the far end of the spectrum, they might have arms crossed or whatever, but that's something that you can pull the other way, make an ambassador, advocate of the whole project. And so that's the hope, is they come and they get involved in documentary and everything else. But to your thing of the problem, there are some, hopefully again very small, but they're just that type of person, and you really can't worry about
Very
that.
small but very vocal, and that can really kind of, for lack of a better term, kind of poison the well, because an attitude like that can be very infectious. And there are a lot of skeptics in the area, mainly because of what we've gone through over the last 10, 15 years. It was devastating, and depressing, just depressing. And it takes a while to pull yourself out of that hole. But I think that we're to a point where people are ready to give something like this a chance. And what I really love about of what you do is that you have an avenue for community engagement through your what did you call it? Your brand camp.
Website.
The website, yeah. So it can be real time. This is where we're at in our process.
Yeah.
And that was one thing nobody else offered.
The website is
It's branding2rivers.com.
branding2rivers.com. We'll put it down in the doobly-doo,
It's cool.
so you can check it out there.
Yeah, and I mean, to that point, that audience, I mean, I think there's oftentimes a very valid thing that they are unhappy with, or, and so I think it's not a group that just needs to be ignored, right? Because they have very real concerns and complaints, and they've probably been here a long time more often than not. And I kind of view it as sort of, for those ones that are changeable, there's the ones that you just, no matter what you say, they're just not making any effort. And at that point, you just have to say, all right, what do we need to do? And but I think they're very important to reach those people, talk to them, understand, because this is their community, and what is
their
future success look
Their
like?
vocal opinionatedness is also a great asset when you do flip them, because now they're that brand champion.
Right.
And they're probably stronger than other people that were like, yeah, we're on board.
Yeah.
That's about the level of enthusiasm.
Right.
Flip them, and it's a great tool.
Well, as impatient as I get with some of the negativity around town, if I'm reaching down and trying to channel my inner Mr. Rogers, and be as charitable as possible about that, you like that.
I know how hard it is for you.
It is. I got to really reach for that, But I have to think that part of what's behind being so critical and negative about it is they really care about
They do.
what's there.
And I think there's a genuine, rightful fear of being left behind. Of like, they knew how they fit in a previous version, and they could see what could be success and improvement, but they don't see how they fit into it. It's a form of gentrification that they don't see their role in this new version. And so I think it's important to reach them and help them create that role, and like where does
There's a
it
sense
fit?
of understanding that you're a part of the meetings and a part of the process.
Right.
Because we're not coming in with like a master plan that's created, being like, here's what we think you guys need to be and do. It's what's the future? What talents are here? What assets are here?
Every project's different.
Yeah.
It's not a blueprint.
Yeah.
And I know I'm really going to be promoting the website so that people can actually see what's going on and maybe get a little bit excited and get a little bit more optimistic.
Yeah.
Because you're right, we want to hear from everybody. And I think it is important that people who are the most pessimistic, or they are very passionate, they're very sad to see what has happened to the community, but they have to get excited too, that it might not be the way it was, but it can be something maybe even better.
Sure.
So but you give us that opportunity to get them involved.
Yeah.
You should hear some of our conversations that are always very good, productive things, and I'm glad we kind of allow them to, with bumpers on, but opinionated people, and we have some nice debates and everything, but ultimately that shows we care. We're plugged into it.
Right.
Let's not go with the flow, and it just makes the thing even stronger. Whatever we're working on.
Well, guys, we're super pleased that you're here and that you've taken time, with us today to talk a little bit about your process and how you're trying to help the city, Two Rivers here. We're grateful for that involvement and for what you're doing. The prognosis for the patient, is it looking good so far?
Is there hope?
I think you're gonna make it.
We're gonna make it. We're gonna pull through.
You were saying earlier the surprising aspect of coming here and just seeing all of it, and our days are so filled. That's a good, right away, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
And I actually was amazed because I kind of saw your itinerary as to what you were going to be doing, and I was kind of amazed. I was like, man, we've got a lot to do around here. When you see it in that respect. And I just have one quick question: are you all native Texans?
No,
Where are you?
I'm the only not.
Where are you from?
New Mexico originally.
Okay.
Well, I will talk about Arlington, Texas, any chance I get.
Okay.
As a plug.
There you go.
Yeah.
Destination.
Yeah, I think most of our team is from Dallas, Texas area.
Okay.
Brisa is from New Mexico.
Okay.
But yeah, we love what we do. We get to go across the country and see all these great communities, and a lot of our friends and spouses think that we're just out here vacationing constantly.
Right.
We don't actually do any work. And half the time that's true, but the other half we are. It's a different form of work, but we're super lucky that we get to discover communities that we otherwise never would have been to.
I think it's
So
fascinating what you do. I really do, and I can see how rewarding it would be.
Yeah. It's much different than working with like a company, because like what we're doing hopefully has like lasting impact on people's lives versus just helping someone sell something.
Right.
So it is a lot more.
To me, it's almost like the difference between slick and truthful.
I had that card last night.
And truthful is probably not the right word, but where it's slick, it's very corporate, it fits into a mold, whereas you come into a community, there is no mold. You have very thank you.
Yeah. Well, I think that Brisa, you and I were actually talking about this recently. It's both, like, we have a very defined process, right? And we go through our process, but at the same time, the way the process works is you go through these steps and these strategy, and then it's like a blank. To me, it's very like we're sitting in an art gallery right now. It's very much like an artist that they may have painted 1 million paintings, written a ton of books, and then they're writing that one, and they're like, I don't know if I'll ever write another book again. I don't know if I can ever paint anything again, because we go through the process and it's like, it's scary because you're like, I don't know what the strategy is going to be. All I know is what I'm hearing. And then when it hits you, you just know, like, and that's when it seems so simple, and that's when you know that it's right. And then it just comes and it fits perfect. And so we have to like trust our own process and trust that like, I can't tell you what the strategy is going to be right now, but I can tell you there's great things happening. We're learning a lot, and we just have to not be scared of that. I'll never write another book again. Fear and just because at the end of the day, we're all creative, so I think we get that like writer's block fear, and I think if you don't have that, then you are just cranking out widgets and kind of factory approach to design. Because I could draw you a logo in the time we've done this podcast that has like a couple rivers on it and 2 rivers, and we're done. But that's not.
There's just more to it, and that's what I've learned. Nix the seagulls, okay? we had overkill on the last logo. So what are your plans for the rest of today? 'Cause there's a lot of stuff going on. You guys leave tomorrow.
We do leave tomorrow, yeah. We're gonna go to fishing derby, check that out. There's a big volleyball tournament down at the beach. We're gonna go check that out. Just a number of just shots that we want to get to capture of some of the flowers around the library and bike riding along the lake.
So we're headed back to
cream and cone.
Screaming.
Yeah.
Oh,
We
yeah.
want to try
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
You gotta try those.
Yeah.
They're really good.
Oh, you didn't try them yet?
We interviewed her before she was opening.
Oh.
We're gonna go back and.
We made her give us some.
Yeah, we do like
Busy and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you've
Oh my God, it is.
Yeah.
Out the door.
Can I go?
Let's
Okay.
go get some. But yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful day. The weather's amazing.
It's perfect for ice cream.
And so yeah, and that's what she said. She was like, "You've got the beach. How is there not ice cream? You know,
Right.
It's perfect. So yeah,
so
let's
simple.
go get some ice cream.
Well, I think that's awesome. What time do you leave tomorrow?
I think we fly out of Milwaukee around 3, so we got to kind of make our way there.
Right.
Yeah.
So today is really kind of it, and then I know we have a dinner this evening,
Dinner this evening. Yep.
and yeah, you'll have to see me again.
Yeah.
I'm showing up at everything. To me, it's like free food. Yay!
Yeah, for sure.
So, you have any more questions?
No, this has been fantastic.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much again for spending some time with us.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
we are really looking forward to next steps with you guys. And if somebody else wants to learn more about Civic Brand, what you guys do, the website for Civic Brand is
CivicBrand.com.
very good.
Yeah, and but yeah, the branding2rivers.com. You know, there's not a lot of content right there because it's intentional. The main thing is we want people to just go there, put in their email address because that's going to be a living, evolving thing.
Yep.
After this trip, there'll be a recap video, you know, information on that. We'll put out surveys through that. So that's really the place to go, and you know, there's a form on there too if somebody wants to. We've already gotten a few messages of people wanting to talk to us, and we will be back in September.
Okay.
We'll be working with the branding committee throughout that process, but we'll be physically back here, I think during Ethnic Festival.
You're gonna love
yeah.
it. That is one of our
It's a cool
best
festival.
festivals.
Yeah.
So,
And we're co-hosting the stages this year.
okay, awesome.
So,
Be afraid.
be very afraid. No. We've already had the self-censorship discussion. So, yeah, we have to be on our best behavior because sometimes that just doesn't happen organically. But no, you guys will have a blast, and I know, you know, I'm going to see you later this evening, but I'm already looking forward to seeing you again in a couple of months and just to see what you've come up with. I find it really exciting. I wish that I was more involved in it because it is such a creative process, and it's got to be so rewarding. You know, so I'll just live vicariously through you guys. So.
Great.
Sounds good.
Well, thanks again, guys.
You bet.
And we'll be right back after these messages.
God.